Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, a criminal Karen tries to get free stuff from my store and ends up trying to rob me because I was rude to her. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the video. So I've been hearing a lot of people complaining lately about how nothing interesting happens in my town. I think it's because we have had an influx of people moving out here from cities and then complaining despite knowing exactly what they were getting into. A small rural town is not gonna have the same type of excitement they are used to, but I would not call my town boring. Those who think that just are not talking to enough people or going out and enjoying things. We have a ton of events for people, things just move slower down here. I don't know if the big excitement the city people want is crime, but I noticed when they started coming, more need for the police came with them. So I own a small grocery store, and unless you want to drive out of the way, it's really the main place people in town go to. I try to stock as much variety as I can for people, and I do well enough to keep my shop open and myself alive and fed. To me, that counts as a successful business, but that's just another thing city people disagree with. So one day, this woman came into the store to shop, and whenever she couldn't find something she wanted, she would ask me. The thing is, all the stuff she was asking me about were things that I didn't stock, and I don't think people expected me to. She wanted imported goods and asked where the fish section was. Not understanding that she had to go to the fish market or butcher for things like that, I just had shelves and a couple freezers. I was not fond of her attitude, but she seemed to be getting a pretty good amount of food, and I was in no position to start turning away customers that just annoyed me. The longer she was there though, the more entitled she became and started insulting the store, the products and the entire town. I wanted to tell her to just go back to the city, but held off due to wanting to make the sale. People would call her Karen, and despite what people think, we have our own share of them down here too. After what felt like ages, she came to the front with a cart filled with stuff, and I was waiting for her to put the items on the belt for me to check out. Instead, she didn't do anything. Me, do you need some help loading the stuff onto the belt? Karen, no, I'm waiting for you to open the door for me, obviously. If you were in a normal store, that would be automatic. Me, I would be happy to open the door for you, after you pay of course. Karen, I'm not paying for these crappy groceries. You did not have anything I wanted, and I will probably catch some disease from being in here. Now open the door and let me out of this store. Me, I'm not letting you walk out of here with all of that stuff for free. You can either pay for it or you can walk out with nothing. Me being polite to customers goes out the window once they want to just rob me. I will admit I was a little shocked to see her pull out a gun and point it at me. The gun just made it more clear that she was from the city because it was a standard little handgun. Under the counter, I keep a shotgun just in case people come in here trying to cause trouble. I've only had to pull it out twice before, and both times were because some guys got too drunk and wandered in. Looking at it, it was enough to scare them off, so I figured her seeing it would change her attitude. I was wrong about that because this Karen was either really tough or really crazy. Karen, you think that scares me? That thing looks old and worn out, while I know mine is new and can shoot through you. I might just come around that corner and take whatever I see back there I want too. I bet you have a good amount of cash in your register. She actually does come around to try and rob me of money now, so I didn't want to shoot her with the gun. In fact, I don't even keep it loaded. The last thing I would want was to kill somebody and get wrapped up in some murder case. So instead, I swung the gun at her and I knocked her down to the ground. I then got on the phone to call the police department and get an officer down to my store. I don't have cameras, but it was never something I really needed. The police department is really small and the officers are members of the town. They know me and also know that if I pulled out my gun, I had a real good reason for it. Seeing the gun in Karen's hand was also enough for them to not think that I did anything wrong and to arrest her instead. Basically, Karen would spend the night in jail unless I wanted to press charges. If she was a local drunk, I might not have. But for an entitled Karen, you bet I was pressing charges against her for pulling a gun out on me. Meanwhile, she was furious about getting arrested and busy calling the entire department names and saying that I was a liar and trying to keep her in the store against her will. That I locked her in and refused to let her leave. The entire story was a mess, and when it came time for me to speak, I was clear. I told them everything from her wanting to leave without paying to pulling a gun on me and wanting to rob the register. Now, since she was being prosecuted for attempted armed robbery, it was not actually my lawsuit against her. It was the government with me just being a witness to the events and them making a decision. If she had actually stolen from me, I could have sued her personally to get the money for the stuff back, but she never made it out the door. Edit, I see a lot of comments telling me I should have sued her personally for emotional damages or something for the money. I was told that was an option, but I didn't feel like dealing with the hassle. Especially when I knew she would be going to prison for what she did. She was found guilty and sent to prison for a situation that could have easily been avoided. If she never pulled a gun on me, then it would have only been attempted robbery, and without a record might have gotten off with community service or something. She just had to try and show off with this gun, and that was the difference between staying out and ending up for a minimum of 5 years. I wish I could say that the whole thing fixed some of the situation in my town, but that just isn't how real life works. People still come from the city, and some were bound to be entitled. I've had so many conversations with people mad that there was no big chain in the town and that I didn't stock every product in the universe. It seems like they were happier in the city, and I wish they could go back there so I could go back to a more peaceful life. And the next one is an insanely entitled parent's story. This all happened around 10 years ago and takes place over the course of the absolute worst months of my life. I just turned 18 at the time, and thanks to my mom's gambling addiction, we lost the house that I had lived in my entire life. Almost right after we lost the house, a family friend offered to let us stay at her house with her family, since her and her husband had a few extra rooms. So we moved into their very large house, and at first things were great. The family consisted of the entitled parents and their entitled kid who was the same age as me. All of them were understanding and nice at first, offering to let me and my mom stay for as long as it would take for us to get back on our feet. Entitled mom even got me my first job working as a volunteer at a bingo hall. Well, it was all under the table kind of money, but I didn't care since it was money in my pocket that my mom could not/would not provide me. EPs had been family friends for a very long time and are absolutely enamored with the idea of me and entitled kid getting together, and have been ever since we were little. They constantly made comments like, "Look at the beautiful couple, you two look so great together," or "We will give you lovebirds some privacy," whenever we were in the same place together. Despite me stating several times that I didn't like him in that way, and they were determined to try to get us to work like some kind of arranged marriage. I think that really fed into EK's ego, because about a month into my stay, there is when the first incident happened. We were walking down the hall when he smacks my ass from out of nowhere. I really freaked out and went off on him, yelling, cursing, and giving him a few shoves. Our parents came upstairs to see what all the yelling was about, and we ended up getting separated. I tell my mom what happened, and she responds by telling me it wasn't a big deal, and to not rock the boat while we were living there. EK eventually gives some half-assed apology to me at dinner, and his dad made some joke about how he's relieved that since he has finally taken an interest in girls since they were starting to think that he was gay. Things proceeded to escalate from there. Any chance EK got, he would make lewd comments or find some way to grope me. Every time I went to his parents, it was always hand-waved away as boys will be boys, or he probably didn't mean it that way. That he was a really sweet guy deep down, and I should get to know him better. On one occasion, ED, entitled Dad, told me that I should be flattered by this behavior. My mom was content to not do anything, enjoying the freeloading that I got to feed her addiction too much and telling me to stop playing hard to get. One day, EK puts a hand down my shirt as I'm sitting on the couch, and I started yelling at him about how I am sick of him doing stuff like this and to never do it again. But he gave me the most terrifying glare and told me, "Shut up, you live in my house." After that, I was so terrified of being alone with him that I would stay after school for as long as I could until I was asked to leave, and if I ever had to go back to the house for any reason. I would just hide in my room with the door locked and wouldn't come out until I knew other people were around, since I didn't know if one day he was just gonna force himself on me. Fast forward a few months and I'm told, not asked, that I'm going with EK as his date to his senior prom, which is in a week. Entitled parents are super excited and tell me that we will have the whole house to ourselves that night after we come back from the dance. I very quickly shut that down and tell them that I'm not going to because of how EK treats me, and entitled parents spend the rest of the day doing everything they can to compel me. First they try telling me that money is not an issue and how they will pay for my dress and ticket. When that doesn't work, they try to guilt trip me, telling me how they ask me for so little and how this is the least I can do and how much EK would love it. Finally, my mom eventually hears about it after she comes home from the casino, and she is pissed. She tells me how I need to go, how it is such a big opportunity for the both of us, and how I need to tell the EPs that I changed my mind. I refuse, and the day after EK's prom is over, EP sit me and my mom down for a talk. They start implementing new rules about how they now expect us to pitch in for all the amenities, how we are expected to buy our own food, and how they are gonna start charging us for rent. Before all this, they were very adamant about us not paying for anything, wanting us to save money to get back on our feet. Even without my mom spending half or all of her checks at the casino, there was no way for us to afford what they were asking, and they subsequently gave us a month to find our own place and then move out. We ended up moving out to live in a sketchy neighborhood with some guy my mom was dating, whom she had met at the casino. My mom blamed me for the entire thing, saying I blew a golden opportunity for both of us. How I basically threw away a great future that was all laid out for me because I would not dance and put out. That cut me pretty deeply, and I still get angry thinking about it to this day. And well, a few months later I graduated, but my mom did not show up to the ceremony. I come back to the house and all my stuff is sitting on the curb next to the trash and had been thoroughly picked through. I found out my keys don't work anymore and nobody is picking up their phone. Ended up waiting until about 3 in the morning for them to come back from the casino, and my mom tells me in so many words that I'm on my own now. Nothing I say changes her mind, and I eventually pack what little of my stuff is left into my car. I spent the next month or two couch surfing or sleeping in my car while trying to pick up as many days as I could at work. Eventually, I managed to save up enough to move into my first apartment with a roommate. I have not spoken to my mom or the entitled parents since then, but recently my mom left me a voicemail asking if we could talk since she did not like the way we left things. Since then, she's been blowing up my phone every day. I don't plan on ever taking that call. And yeah, ripe stars, if you have enjoyed the stories until here, then please don't forget to like the video and maybe even leave a comment because that would help me tremendously. Thank you so much, and the next one is an Am I the A-hole story. So my ex, 31, and I, male 32, had C, female 16, way too young. We are friendly co-parents. One big rule we share is if our daughter breaks something, she pays for it. Now, my sister, 27, and I are the only grandkids. My aunt never married. Instead, she worked with my grandma and grandpa at their seamstress store and took it over when they retired. My sister's girlfriend, 29, proposed last year, and grandpa offered to make future sister-in-law a custom suit, which she was over the moon about. Grandma had me ask sister what her dream dress was and record the convo. Sister, thinking it was just between us, told me in great detail what her dream dress was, though said it was way too expensive, so she would get something much cheaper. Well, a few months later, Grandma surprised my sister with her dream wedding dress. It fit perfectly and everyone cried. Sadly, my grandma recently passed away, which hit us all hard. My sister was devastated, but decided that the dress meant my grandma would still be there with us at the wedding. The issue comes in with C. She is very large, much larger than my sister. 3 days ago, we decided to go visit my sister and see how she was doing. It was great, but then C asked if she could try on the dress. And by the way, ripe stars, if I understood correctly, C is the daughter of OP. Anyway, my sister politely said no, C made a face, but dropped it. Later, we decided to go grab dinner. My sister and I went to pick up our orders, but C decided to stay and play with my sister's dog. We got back and the dress was destroyed. C had apparently tried to get it on, popping some seams, and got stuck. Instead of waiting for help, she cut her way out. The dress was hacked to bits, sister was devastated and asked us to leave. I grounded C and called my aunt with some pictures asking if it could be saved. She said there was no way. She said she would make a new one, but it wasn't the same. Then she dropped the bomb on me. GMA had hand-sewed most of the dress, used super expensive fabric, and put almost 500 hours in making that dress since it was the only family wedding we would have. In total, the dress cost $12,000 give or take. C has about $15,000 saved up from various jobs, as well as winning writing competitions. This was supposed to help her in college. I took her to the bank and set in motion transferring all the funds, since as her parent I still have control over it. $12K to my aunt to pay for the new dress, and $3K to my sister's wedding as an emotional distress tax. I explained exactly why this was happening to C, but she sobbed the entire time asking what she was supposed to do for college and saying it wasn't her fault. I told her she could get a job if she didn't get a scholarship, and it was her fault for trying on the dress after she'd been told no and for not waiting until we got back. A few popped seams could have been fixed, but hacking the dress to pieces couldn't. C told my ex, and while she agreed C was in the wrong after the full story, said I shouldn't have ruined her future for her free dress. I reminded her of our rule and she still thinks that I'm wrong. So Reddit, am I the a-hole here? Edit, since people are mentioning they don't understand the 3K, that was to make up to my sister that C destroyed the last gift our dead grandma ever gave her. I consider that part of the price of destroying the dress, since even if my aunt remakes it, it lost a great deal of its sentiment value. I pointed out how young we were here because I wanted to explain how a 31-year-old has a 16-year-old kid. I don't resent having her, she's the best thing I've ever done. I also brought up C's size because my sister has Crohn's disease and thus is very tiny. The dress was made for her size and C is much larger than sister. I love C as she is, but just holding the dress up it was clear it wouldn't fit. Edit number 2, to clarify, the money was C's have fun at college money, not her college fund. My ex and I are paying for whatever scholarships don't. When she was asking what she would do for college, she was asking what she would do for fun and to buy things we didn't pay for. Again, the character count is limiting, so I had to cut details. Edit number 3, so I got off the phone with my ex about 20 minutes ago. Some of your suggestions, I sent her the pictures and she freaked out. She apparently didn't believe me when I said it had been hacked apart and believed it was just a few torn seams. However, she was pretty much on my side afterwards. She told me that she has spent the day badgering our daughter, asking her why she did what she did, and finally, C cracked and said she was mad that grandma was not alive to make her a dress and that it was unfair that my sister got a free beautiful dress as a reminder when my daughter got nothing despite the many things she was given after the funeral. She tried it on, took it off when the seams popped, and then in anger hacked it apart. If she couldn't have a dress from grandma, no one could. Her own words. Honestly, knowing she did it on purpose has just made things worse. The fact that she could be so cruel, that's not the daughter we tried to raise. She'll be going to therapy, whether that's in person when local therapists start taking new clients again, or on one of those apps that people have mentioned. We need to talk about it more. Her punishment stands as it is, though we're going to see how therapy goes. As for all the seamsters who have reached out, please know that I'm touched by your kindness, I really am. My aunt is gonna see if she can incorporate at least some of the fabric from the old dress into the new one, maybe at least try to save the beading, but if there's anything usable, I'll reach out. I have yet to talk to my sister, but I've talked to her fiancé, and my sister is not doing well. The stress has caused a Crohn's flare-up, so she's stuck in bed sick, which honestly, I'm not surprised. Crohn's is often triggered by stressful events, so I was expecting it. I told fiancé about aunt making a new dress and she promised to take the remains over to my aunt on Monday. She is thankful for us addressing the issue, but has asked for some space from sister so she can recover and heal and hopefully not end up in the hospital. As for the 3K, we will see what my sister's state is in a few days. If she has to go to the hospital, then the money is forfeit for her medical bill since it was C's selfishness that put her there, so she can pay for it. If sister doesn't end up in the hospital, then I will consider giving it back after she's gone to therapy for a few months. If she's accepted what she did was wrong and worked to make amends. We will see what the next few months bring. And yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know in the comments what you think about this. Was OP the a-hole here or not? Comment number 1, not the a-hole, absolutely not, she ruined her own future. In my mind, that dress was not $12,000 or even $15,000, it was just priceless. It could have and should have been passed down for generations. I'm horrified your daughter did such a thing. Most kids don't go to college with savings, so she's just gonna have to tough it out. I hope she looks back one day and realizes the payment she made was severely short. I'm so sorry this happened to your family. Comment number 2, not the a-hole, your daughter is old enough to know what she did was wrong. And I think that you are right to give your sister the $12K for the dress. Your daughter can continue to work as she has time left before college, and she can also apply to scholarships, get loans or work while in college. However, I disagree with you giving your sister $3K from your kid's account though. I think you should give back the $3K to your daughter and tell your sister the $3K is from you. Did your daughter know the significance of the dress? I'm also very close to my grandma, and if I was in your sister's shoes, it would take me a very long time to forgive your daughter. And now, Ripe Stars, we have an update to this situation, and it reads like this. Hey everyone, it's been a long time and a lot of things have happened. I think it's finally gotten to the point where I can post an update that many of you asked for. So as for the dress, many of you reached out and offered to try and help. I'm so thankful to you. I couldn't respond to everyone, but thank you so much. As some of you suggested, my grandpa used pieces of the original dress to make accessories for my sister to wear, and she loved them. She will still wear some of the hair ties for special occasions. My aunt was able to make an almost perfect replica of the dress for the wedding, so while it wasn't the same, it was close. My sister, she did have to go to the hospital to treat her Crohn's flare-up. It was terrifying, and since she was immunocompromised, she did catch the virus. I was so scared that I was gonna lose my baby sister, but thankfully, she pulled through. She is now finally married to her wonderful wife. My ex and I tried to have C pay for the hospital bills, but my sister refused to take the money. They do have good insurance, luckily. My sister-in-law was still pissed and torn about having C at the wedding. However, my sister insisted. C was not part of the wedding party, but she was still invited and joined their special day. While it's not forgotten or really forgiven, my sister is willing to move on at least. Finally, C, I think seeing her aunt so sick did help kickstart C realizing how wrong she had been, since it was a domino effect of her actions in the first place that started all of this. She herself admitted in therapy it was her jealousy over having to buy a wedding dress in the future instead of having one made for her like it was done for my sister. She does still struggle with her anger at times, but it's getting better. It turns out she used to get all her anger and aggression in sports at school with her friends, which is why she seemed so calm all the other times. However, being in lockdown just forced everything to build up in an unhealthy way. Still not an excuse for what happened, but at least an explanation. As I said in an update last time, my ex and I are paying for college for whatever scholarships C doesn't get, so at the time, taking 12k for the dress seemed right. And yes, I do still stand by that, but after seeing how much she has worked on herself and trying to repair things with my sister, I've given her back the 3k that my sister did not take for hospital bills. She's also been working with my aunt and grandpa one day a week, as well as editing other essays to build back up her fun money. I matched 50% and gave it to her when she graduated. She started college in the fall with a few scholarships and is continuing therapy. Things are still tedious with her and my sister, but they are working on it. C has been trying hard and shown she is really sorry and is trying to fix things. I still think we have a while to go, but we will get there. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.